You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. It is going to be LSU and Florida State Saturday down in Orlando. Certainly all of our thoughts and our concerns are with the people in the state of Florida. We learned, by the way, the hurricane Idalia, as many have confirmed. Idalia, it is a Spanish name. So not Idalia, it is Idalia. So which made landfall early this morning there on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and was a very strong storm as it moved through. We've all been through storms. You live down here, it's part of it. So our thoughts and our concerns and our prayers are with the people in the state of Florida. Specifically as it relates to this football game, it does not appear as though Orlando is going to be largely affected by the storm. They're going to have water and amounts of wind from outer bands and everything like that, but it shouldn't in any way affect the ability to play this game in Orlando on Sunday, which is a good thing. Normalcy is a good thing, and it looks like they are going to be able to play this game, which is great. Brian Kelly was on the SEC coaches teleconference and talked about this opportunity to open up the season for the second consecutive year against Florida State.
The game is an exciting one. You got two nationally ranked football teams, and as you know, we played to a close 1-point game last year, decided by a blocked extra point. So we know what's in store for us. It's an outstanding football team. Mike Norvell's done a great job in building this program back to elite status. From our standpoint, it's really just focusing on our process and what we do in terms of our preparation, and then go play a game that a lot of people want to see on Sunday.
I think the other thing Brian Kelly said, every year when we go into a season, you've heard me say this, is when I try to gauge a team and what my projection might be for a team, I'll always say who has the fewest questions against the most manageable schedule. And LSU doesn't have a lot of questions. And that's why I like this team an awful lot. It's why I'm picking them to win the national championship. I think they're going to win the SEC. I think they have the best quarterback in the SEC. I think I like this LSU team a lot. Sometimes you have to just go on a limb and make the pick. So I'm willing to put it out there and say it. But it's because they have fewer questions. And Brian Kelly said he didn't predict them to win the national championship, but he did say exactly that. They have so few questions, especially compared to what they were a season ago.
There were just so many more question marks. Now, they answered some of those question marks in the way they played, and, they had a personality of their own. They were a competitive group, and they fought hard, and they overcame a lot of the sloppiness, and we did that against Florida State. As you know, we put the ball on the ground a couple of times in special teams and, had some bad snaps, and they overcame it. That was their demeanor last year. That was their DNA, I guess I would say. So they answered a lot of those question marks. I think we go into this season with less question marks, but we still have to develop an identity of this team, and that's why, you got to go out and play before you really get a sense of what your football team's about.
That is true, and that is true of literally every team every year. You may think you know what a team's identity is going to be, but that is something that is a constant evolution as the season goes along. But again, it's the few question marks. You know who your quarterback is. You know all of your starters on the offensive line. You know you've got a great tight end and what your rotation is going to look like. Yeah, I mean, you know Josh Williams is your most veteran, experienced back, and you've got a lot of trustworthy and capable guys behind him. You've got a bunch of freak show receivers. You know that about your team. You've got a good rotation at defensive tackle. You know who your jack and your big edge are going to be. You know who your two starting backers are going to be. You know who your safeties are going to be. You know you trust at least one of your corners in Zy Alexander. You know who your place kicker is, who your punter is, who your long snapper is, who your returners are. You know those things. These aren't things that are going to evolve throughout the season unless you have an unfortunate injury or something like that happens unforeseen, but you don't have questions. It's just go do it. Go do it now. Of course, a giant part of that is Jayden Daniels. And it's probably the question that most people want to know is Jayden Daniels' development. And the thing that I'll say often about Jayden in his defense, and I know a lot of you don't, for whatever reason, it's weird that LSU fans don't like me defending Jayden Daniels, which is an odd thing. And I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but of course there's room for improvement. But it's worth noting the kid threw for 2,900 yards last year and ran for 900. He was explosive and dynamic and awesome, and without him, your season probably resembled more what a lot of prognosticators were saying going into the year, which would have been a maybe 6 or 7 win season. Instead, you went 9-3, you won your bowl game, you get to 10, you win the SEC West, you beat Bama. That's because you had him. Now, he needs to take that next step to be able to be a national championship team. Can he? Here was Brian Kelly on a signal caller.
In terms of his preparation, both on and off the field, I think it's exactly where we wanted it to be. We've seen his growth off the field in terms of his, work in the community, his ability to lead. He's been named captain. He's developed in a manner that when you see his work in practice, you see a more complete quarterback. He's stronger physically. He's put on the right weight. Now it's about flipping that switch and going from all this preparation to performance. And my experience tells me if you've prepared the right way in all of those facets, the performance kind of takes care of itself. So now it's just a matter of, waiting for that opportunity and then taking advantage of it.
Get that opportunity on Saturday. For what it's worth, when Jayden Daniels met with reporters on Tuesday night, he was kind of asked to compare what he feels like now as opposed to this time a year ago. And if you're looking for Jayden Daniels' improvement exponentially, whatever, this should serve you very well.
My mind was kind of racing everywhere, trying to figure out the plays, the game plan, and also trying to build that camaraderie with the guys. Now I'm more at ease with everything as far as, the playbook, my teammates and everybody. So I feel 20 times better than I did last year. 20 times better than he did last year. A year where he threw for 2,900 yards, which was the 5th highest passing total in the history of the program. A year where he ran for just under 900 yards, which led the team. He says he feels 20 times better than he did. You want to know why Jayden Daniels has the 2nd best Heisman Trophy odds in America? That's why. For all of the conversation we have about he doesn't push the ball downfield, he's too conservative, he won't take chances, blah, blah, that's what you needed a year ago. Because if Jayden Daniels was careless with the football a year ago, when your margin was very small, he could have had a season that looked like 2008 Jared Lee. You turn the ball over a bunch and you're a 7-5 football team. That was a very realistic possibility. But he was exactly what you needed. Now, you go throw for 3,000 yards and run for 1,000 yards, or throw for 3,500 yards and run for 500 yards. You put up 4,000 yards of total offense and 35, 40 touchdowns, and your team is sitting there in the playoff. Yeah, that dude's going to be sitting in New York at the Heisman presentation. He might just win it. I'm not going to go that far because I don't know that I don't believe Jayden is going to need to rush for 1,000 yards this year. And to throw for over 4,000 is a massive ask. But that's what it takes to win the Heisman. Not to be in New York, but to win it. You have to throw for 4,000 yards, or if you don't throw for 4,000 yards, you have to throw for 3,000 yards and run for 1,000. That's what Lamar Jackson did. That's what Johnny Manziel did. That's what Cam Newton did. That's what Jayden would have to do. And I don't know that he's going to run for 1,000 yards this year just because I don't think they're going to need him to. But he should be pushing 4,000 passing. And if he is, and LSU is as good as I think they will be, he should have a seat in New York for the Heisman presentation. That march will begin on Saturday in Orlando against pretty good Florida State secondary. Florida State's going to have its hands full trying to match those LSU receivers. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.